I've been quite busy since my last video, in which I climbed out of silver on my old league account. Even if it was fun to play Timo and rank up like that, I wasn't going to OTP him or anything. I don't really like to play the same thing over and over again. While I know that it's a very popular strategy among the player base, it's just not for me. Also, doing the same repetitive thing over and over again might hint that something else is going on there. Back to our rank journey, I did get out of gold as well, but if you were to ask me if it was worth it,
holy hell, kid.
I'll let you be the judge of that, since it took me just 461 games since the start of the season to climb from bronze to platinum. I'm a quintuple gold medalist in the Hardstuck Olympics. What I didn't mention in the last video is that I got demoted and climbed back to gold for like 5 times, if not even more. It's not even funny at this point. Also, this happened in one of the matches and it saved me some points because we were losing hard. Thought that it's interesting since I never saw this before. I hope that's pretty obvious by now that I'm not doing this to brag or anything, because I'm not a pro at the game and Plat, it's still low elo. I do it for the strugglers, for those that know in their own heart that they belong in Diamond or Masters but are kept down by their trolling teammates. For those that know how it is to get 17 LP for a win and minus 29 for a loss. When you see those who are actually good at the game climbing, it almost looks like an enjoyable and relaxing experience. But once you try to replicate that, it just becomes borderline psychological torture when you are on a losing streak and when you are stuck 30 to 40 minutes into a game that you already know it's lost. The take here is that if I was able to do it, you could also do it if you are stuck in the lower leagues, with enough perseverance. I mean, if you're already addicted, the amount of played games might not be an issue. You don't need to min-max everything and take every tiny detail into account. Technically, you should be able to rank up and still have fun until about Diamond. Have you seen the guys playing at a higher level? Those guys really seem to hate their lives while playing League. You should have an understanding of how the game works and its core principles. You can't just hop in over and over again, bashing a bunch of buttons and mindlessly taking every fight. If you've been doing this for a few seasons and you're stuck in the same place, maybe you should change something. Just take some time to check out some resources about the fundamentals. Nowadays, there are loads of resources available. You just need to stop tilt queuing like an ape and do a quick search online. I say this because I saw a lot of players in the lower leagues who don't grasp the basic concepts of the game. Like, they might know how to play their position and win their lanes, but they end up throwing the game that was already won. This seems to happen quite a lot and it can be really tilting, and if you're queuing up for another match while you are in that mental state, you got yourself a recipe for a losing streak. I did some research about what people do when they get into these long losing streaks and what they do to break them or to completely avoid them. And what seems to work best is simply taking a break after 1 or 2 losses. I don't know what you do, play something else, go for a walk, just don't queue up for another game if you already lost a couple of matches. I actually tested this, and when I play less games spread throughout the day, I tend to win more. This is what I'm talking about. Practical stuff like this that you can start implementing into your game right away, or things that you need to stop doing immediately, like typing this imbecility. If you type this, you won't magically synchronize your teammate's brain with that of a pro player and instantly make him play better. Typing this will never ever have a positive outcome. Just disable the chat if you can't handle the heat and can't use it to make a positive contribution. Sometimes a bit of positivity can actually change the outcome of a game and help you win. It may not sound as relieving as flaming your feeders, but in the grand scheme of things, it will increase your overall winning chances. Basically, just stop being toxic, you dumbass, you will win more. This was more like a public service announcement for the whole community, because I'm tired of reporting players over and over again and getting these pop-ups all the time. You can't control how others play or how skilled they are at the game. The only thing you can improve is your own gameplay and decision making. So stop looking at others and try to focus on on yourself. There are some games that are unwinnable, just accept it and get over it. If you're not always the liability in your team, you should be able to climb eventually. Also, if you really want to rank up in this game, you should know that you will need the patience and iron will of a Shaolin monk. You have to accept that you might do everything right and go above and beyond to win a match, just for someone in your team to ruin everything and throw it, either by poor decision making or by blatant hinting and trolling. Back on how I got myself out of the endless hell of demoting and promoting back from gold. Initially, I accepted the fact that I was playing on my skill level and said to myself that I can only go up from here. I was wrong, obviously, because I managed to get demoted all the way to silver 3 before bouncing back. The thing that got me back to winning games initially was the fact that I started to play Phil again. Not sure if this is in every region the same, but it seems like most of the time there is a deficit in junglers and support players. And it's not really that surprising, since jungle is a key role and it's probably the hardest one with a lot of responsibility and influence over the game. At that elo, most of the junglers I encountered were either bots or smurfs that would 1v9 and win the game by themselves. I noticed that most of the clueless junglers were auto-filled, and in those cases, if the enemy jungler had the slightest idea about how to focus on objectives and occasionally gank, it was pretty much game over for us. Everybody starts flaming and blaming him, and our team would just crash and burn miserably. I could play some simple jungle champions that my A-brain can understand mechanically and could play them decently most of the time. This worked for a while because they were meta at the moment. Playing a lot of jungle, which is probably my weakest role by the way, made me understand how hard it is to balance taking objectives, ganking and farming, and also made me appreciate a good jungler in my team. I also learned how to play more efficiently with a jungler in creating ganking opportunities and how to follow in order to take objectives when I play on the lane. The take from here is not necessarily to become a main jungler, but at least to understand how that role works within your team and how to play as a team in taking objectives and fights. Now about the support role, when people get auto-filled support, they think that their contribution to the game is not that important, or sometimes just pick some random champion, not taking it seriously. Most of the time this doesn't go well if our bot lane starts losing, as they will start blaming each other and feed like animals. You can carry games playing as support, and you can create a huge advantage for your team by winning the bot lane. Even if supports have a lot of responsibility in terms of protecting the ADC, creating vision and engaging, this can be one of the most fun roles. I personally like it because you can constantly create plays and enable your team to win. And with the lessons learned after playing jungle, now I'm more involved in warding the Drake and helping the jungler when he's in trouble on the river. I can also fend off the enemy jungler if he wants to be sneaky and take the Drake by himself. There are loads of new simple things that can improve your game by a ton, just by simply knowing where the jungler is more likely to gank or to take an objective. I had more experience playing as support, as this was my secondary role when I first started League. I used to mess around with a bunch of supports initially, but eventually I decided to play Leona since she is very strong right now. And this leads us to our next point, which is abuse the meta. I don't care if you play some champ that you consider to be cool. If you are Hardstuck silver and don't have a gazillion points on a specific champ that's off meta, just forget it. Playing around the meta will highly increase your chances of climbing, especially in the lower leagues. These tier lists are there for a reason. People are analyzing any tiny detail when a new patch drops, so they can figure out which champions are going to be the strongest. Same thing for items and runes. At this level, don't even bother, just pick the recommended ones and you should be good. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. There is time for that once we get out of this shitty elo and have a better understanding about the game, don't worry. Speaking of shitty elo and why you're stuck there, please just stop playing champions that you never played before straight to ranked. I've seen this too many times not to mention it. I saw a guy that picked Kata for the first time just because it countered Veigar hard. You know what happened? He lost miserably. Just because a champion's kit counters another doesn't mean that you will automatically win the lane. Knowing how to lane against a certain champion and how to use the abilities are way more important. For my last stretch to Platinum, I had to get back to my main roles on mid and top because I was starting to lose my patience with some ape solo laners, and it was a good call since it was smooth sailing from gold to Plat. I just played the meta champs that I liked, like Galio mid. He's quite a chad on mid right now and it worked wonders. I could abuse any squishy mage and be in every team fight with my ult. This leads to our next point. They say that you need to be able to carry games by yourself in order to get out of low elo, but not everyone likes that playstyle. For example, I have a more supportive playstyle and I like champs with CC that enable my team to win. So don't push yourself too much to get all the kills and carry every game if you don't enjoy playing like that. You can bring value to the team by creating opportunities and enabling your teammates to shine. Of course, it's a bit more tricky at this level, but it's still doable. Lastly, don't forget that you're supposed to have fun while playing this game. I know that you might want to impress your Discord kitten or brag about your rank to your friends, but the whole process is not supposed to make you feel miserable. Just take a longer break if it really gets to you. It's just a numbers game in the end, and there will be longer losing streaks no matter how good you play. Thanks for watching and good luck ranking up.